Logan, what do we got planned today?
4.5-inch lift.
Where'd you get it?
From Fat Bob's Garage.
Fat Bob's Garage. All right. So we're doing a 4.5-inch lift. So we're gonna start with a measurement here. Just under 32. And we think this truck has a little lean on the driver's side. And hopefully the lift will take care of that if it's a weak spring.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's a bit of a lean. You got less, it's over an inch. So this is like 30.5. Wow. All right, let's see what the back is. 31-ish. 31-ish. 31. All right, so the rear is even, the front is uneven. We've also got 33-inch tires to go on it. So we're estimating to be about 6 to 7 inches higher. All right, let's see how it goes. All right, so here's the lift kit. New rear leaf springs, new front coil springs, shocks all the way around, short 2-inch bump stops, transmission mount drops, sway bar links, which we're probably not gonna put on. I'm probably gonna take the sway bar off altogether. U-bolts, longer shackles, brake line mounting point extenders, hardware. So we should be good to go. All right, so what they don't really explain too clearly is you have to actually install the bump stop after, like, put it up into the coil spring and then put them in by hand, which is really tricky because as we lower the axle enough to get the spring in, we literally had to loosen these so that the bushings pivot, pry everything down, and it actually bent into some sheet metal, and it barely fit. So you can see we had to bend into on both sides, and we're still prying down just to get these coil springs, these longer coil springs on. Fortunately, we got new brake lines that could flex and bend a little bit without an issue, so nothing's hurt there. So we've got the front done. We've got our brake line extensions, our new super duper longer shocks. We left the sway bars out because we're off-roading. We're planning on keeping them out, but so you had to, part of the instructions is to re-drill this hole 3/4 of an inch closer to extend that, because obviously when it's lifted, rather, I guess that's a cheaper way out than getting an adjustable or a longer track bar. These bolts are all loose because they will be tightened once we get on the ground and settle everything, and then tighten them up on the drive-on lift. A little fighting with the track bar alignment. They want you to actually put the wheels on, lower it, and try to, you know, do it on the ground, but I always just like to fight with them. Why not? But everything else looks good to go. So far, so good, Logan? He said yes. Okay, great. Now on to the rear. I messed up. I snapped the shock mount bolt and broke the stud off. What it's supposed to look like is that with a thread on the end. I'm not going to try to replace this whole thing. I'm just going to take threads, cut them, weld them on, grind it down, and it's just the threads that hold the shock from sliding off. It doesn't take pressure really, so it should be fine. I ground my bolt to a little angle, and basically the trick is fill them up with weld, and it should be pretty strong. Only about 10 minutes. I welded it, ground it down, welded it a little better. Should be good. I think it's gonna be plenty strong. All right, so here's a little trick Logan found from somebody online. These are the upper bolts on the rear shocks. Pretty much the guy everybody's saying they always break. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna punch them right out with an air chisel, and then you end up having to feed a bolt through, where is it? That hole, and drop them in, drop a bolt in, and then just kind of nut and bolt them from there. So let's chisel them right out. This is gonna be loud. The amount of rust falling on me is undescribable. Just finished the rear, got the shocks in, used hardware just like was recommended that we do, knocked out the old ones. Worked out good. This worked out well, welded on. It shouldn't go anywhere. Everything's in. All the springs are in, U-bolts are in. We gotta get it lowered down, settled, and we'll tighten up all the shackle bolts. And now the final step is dropping the transfer case mount so we can have a better driveline angle without any binding. All right, so we got the tranny drop done. A little tricky getting the stud because one's a stud with a nut and the other's a bolt. The stud coming out was a little tricky. We got it out, I was afraid they were gonna break, but they didn't. But it drops. We actually had to fight to get these bolts lined back up. Those ones are slotted, but they were bottomed out. These ones barely fit. They say that you may have to adjust your shift linkage, which I hope we don't have to because that's ugly and rusty, but that's a four-wheel drive shift linkage. So because everything dropped, it may have pulled on the linkages and make it off. All right, got it? All right, so that's definitely gonna cut back the other way. And that definitely hits. So we have a little trimming to do on the front tires. All right, so we aligned it, we finished it, we trimmed it, which that got ugly, but it actually looks pretty good. We didn't touch the rear. I'm sure the rear will definitely be hitting. Oh yeah. But we'll see. We'll reference what they were before. So now we're about 40-ish inches, 39 and a half, 39, 30, maybe just under. 38 and a half-ish, 30, yeah, 38 and a quarter. 38 and a quarter-ish, right? About the same. Right. Very good. Well, we'll have to see how this thing does off-road, and we'll go from there. A little more. So that's probably the max you're gonna get in the rear. You're gonna get more travel in the front. Means you're definitely gonna rub up here if that gets tucked. The other way, a little bit. Oh, you're right into it. You're into the bumper. Okay. All right, so we can trim more off the bumper and make it even. But I mean, I don't know how else to make that rear flex. It might just be the max it's gonna go. I think the truck just doesn't have the weight to really push it down. That front tire is actually off the ground. Cool. Got plenty of room. You gotta go up over that side too.